Aaron Tuttle here. It's storm season in Oklahoma, and with that comes torrential rain, high winds, and hail. To protect your home and your family from these threats, the one roofing company you should trust is Ferguson Roof Systems. They've been providing the best in roofing services for nearly half a century. Ferguson is Oklahoma's full-service roofing company, certified with an A+ Better Business Bureau rating and a 5-star rating on Google. And with Ferguson now offering Class 4 impact-resistant shingles, now is the time to trust them with your home's roof. Get started today at FergusonRoofSystems.com.
Hey there, it is almost 12 o'clock, so it's your noontime live weather update here on our Thursday, June 15th. Welcome, I'm Meteorologist Aaron Tuttle here at AT's Weather, and you are here for the reason of severe weather. Yes, it has returned. We normally have our severe weather season from the middle of March to the middle of June, so it is in the window, even though it's at the tail end of the window. We're going to have some pretty good storms out there today, which will produce some pretty significant magnitude of severe weather in the form of hail, wind, and probably even a couple of tornadoes. So I'm going to outline that for you here for today. If you saw my broadcast for last night, we talked about it, and I had a couple of posts prior to that on my Facebook wall and also on Rumble, and also on YouTube, and of course on Gab. So those are the platforms that I'm on right now. All right, let's take a look out there currently. Clear skies. You wouldn't know. We had some big storms coming later today. But if you look here, 84 degrees and clear. Like I said, we'll look out here in the distance. This is looking west. We'll eventually see some bubbling Q out here in the form of some cumulonimbus thunderheads building out across western Oklahoma, moving our way as we head into the evening hour. So if you have any plans in the evening across Oklahoma City, you want to make sure that, let's just say that you're in the right place, right time, in the form of not getting anything that's going to get damaged, right? So let's take a look here at the big ticket item here for today, and that is from the Storm Prediction Center, which has a big region highlighted in this red color. So what that means is that's a moderate risk of severe weather. It's a confidence number. In other words, how many severe weather reports will we see in an area? And so it does have this little sweet spot highlighted here across all of western, northwestern, southern Oklahoma, and yes, here even into central Oklahoma. And that is for the categorical risk. You also have a tornado risk here, outlining the color, a wind risk, and a hail risk. So you can see how there's a hard line in the sand. So northeast Oklahoma doesn't get as much action as, say, if you were to cut the state in half from northwest to southeast along that line. Now, the big take-home here from the Storm Prediction Center is widespread severe storms associated with giant hail larger than 3 to 4 inches in diameter, intense wind damage greater than 80 miles per hour, and a few tornadoes are expected from mid-afternoon into tonight across western and southern Oklahoma into North Texas and northeastern Texas. In other words, a pretty good magnitude of severe weather. Now, keep in mind that most of the hailstones that come out of the sky will not be 3 to 4 inches in diameter. Thank goodness. If that were the case, for example, if they were to all be 3 to 4 inches, we'd be talking about apocalyptic. I'd be basically calling for the end of the world, standing on the street corner, saying the end is near, with the word scratched out and says, nope, the end is here. So thank goodness we will not see that widespread. We are going to see some baseball-sized hail in many areas, and then you'll get some other hailstones less than that. But the bottom line is hail and wind is the primary threats with this event, and I'll outline where I think the tornadoes may occur here in a second. Temperatures out there across the state, we've got the mid-80s. We are warming up nicely. Already got some 90s here in southwest Oklahoma, and the wind field is starting to pick up a little bit more. Wind speeds out here across western and northwestern Oklahoma are gusting up to around 20 miles per hour, up to around 30 in southwest Oklahoma, but they're still a little weaker across the central and eastern sides. You know, we've gone through most of our spring without a lot of wind. Did that ever occur to you? Did you sit back and go, where's the wind been this season? And we have had it absent because our weather pattern has been so stagnant. Let's take a look here at the severe weather threat for the extended outlook for Friday. Still up around the kind of the northwestern corner of Oklahoma, also down to our south and east. And then on Saturday, remember how last night I told you they had like a little circle up here? I told you that would change, it would shift and expand. So that's what they've done so far in this region of the state. Now, odds are it's probably going to be more focused, kind of in this region, at least for the late afternoon, early evening. And then we'll see if anything overnight kind of continues to go east in the data as it starts to come into the window. And then Sunday's got a little risk out to our east. And typically when you see probability too low, two things are either occurring. Either one, the weather pattern is quieted down, or two, there's not enough confidence yet to predict any specific area that would see a magnitude of severe weather. It doesn't mean it can happen, it just means that we're going to wait for more data to come in. Okay, so what we talked about last night was this upper level of the system coming in here across this region of the country. All right, this little bright little color, this little trough, called a trough axis, is a, we'll call it a short wave. This is moving into, this afternoon, this position right here. So it's going to be our trigger to get these showers and thunderstorms to develop. And why wasn't this talked about, say, on Sunday when I did my blog? I'd mentioned some storms, I think it was for Thursday morning. So basically it was a timing thing, it slowed down, and it came a little stronger. So instead of a Thursday morning, it's a Thursday evening thing, and that changes things quite a bit. Usually when you have storms in the morning, you're not dealing with too much of a severe weather magnitude. When you have them in the late afternoon and evening, this time of the year, big difference in the outcome. All right, let's take a look here at the significant tornado parameter for the afternoon and evening. It kind of focuses in this little sweet spot down here. This is the best ingredients for producing tornadoes. Doesn't mean they can't happen outside this window, just typically means that's where things are the most volatile. Now, what happens is when the storms do develop, the models will erase these colors on the map, so there should be colors in this area. In other words, the environment is favorable just like it is down here in this region of the state. It's just it won't show it because the way the models are configured, once convection starts and the rain starts to happen, in reality that stabilizes things and it erases all of the ingredients for severe weather. So let's just pretend like there is no storms and this environment still remains. That's kind of the best way to look at it. And if we were to pick just a sounding, forecast sounding down here for this region to kind of show you what's going on, we have a pretty good, decent wind field this time around as the winds do turn with height as you go up in the atmosphere. Pretty decent hodograph. Possible tornado type is a hazard. Classic supercell signature. And what also we have on here is our effective layers, which is a significant tornado parameter number. Some of these are off the charts, which push the line way up here. Probability line of an EF4. In other words, it's going nuts with the environment. Doesn't mean we'll see an EF4 or an EF5. It just means that the atmosphere is pretty loaded. And of course, it's got some analogs that do represent hail sizes up around 3. I've seen as much as 4 inches in diameter. Cape values up around 5,000, which is ridiculous. Joules per kilogram. Let's see here. And let's see, that's what I'll highlight here so far. Now, the other issue is, see this little spot right here? Now, this is the difference between the red line is temperature, the green line is dew point as you go up in the atmosphere. For tornado genesis, two things you want to look at. You want to make sure that this LCL line is at a most 1 kilometer in elevation. I like it below 1 kilometer. And you want these two lines to be pretty close to one another. This means deep moisture is not mixed out, which means it's easier for a tornado to occur. Now, flip side of that, I'm going to show you what it looks like in Oklahoma City, say like around 7 o'clock in that time frame, and we'll see how the atmosphere is a little bit different. Okay, so you still have a potential tornado type, marginal, but this LCL line is way up higher. Okay. And these lines here, the red and the green, are much farther apart, which means much more dry air. So, like I said last night, your better odds of producing a tornado will be out in southwestern Oklahoma with a weakening trend as it moves into central Oklahoma. And sometimes these cases, we can see it try to produce a tornado off and on, all the way up to maybe like El Reno, Union City, Minco, and all of a sudden that just shuts off. And then it becomes kind of a weakening trend where we get these damaging wind bursts. We still get the hail. So that could easily be the outcome here for today. So just kind of keep that in mind. All right. Temperature-wise, we're going to be heating up today, of course. We're already in the 80s, but we're going to be in the 90s this afternoon here across a good area of central and southwestern Oklahoma. So that'll help to be the trigger to get some of these thunderstorms to get going. And, of course, they'll cool down once we get into the evening hours as these rain showers help to cool down the atmosphere overnight. But, yeah, so it'll be a little bit steamy this afternoon, comparatively speaking. Okay, we do talk about the instability with the what I call the Cape values. So again, southwest Oklahoma, Cape values down here well over 5,000 joules per kilogram. How high can Cape values go, you're asking? Believe it or not, up around 7,000. I think I may have seen, if I recall, maybe a few cases a little higher than that, but those are outliers. In statistics, an outlier means it's something that doesn't occur hardly ever, and those are the cases that occur hardly ever. It just means you have a lot of, there's kinetic energy, there's potential energy, there's all kinds of, in physics, things to work with if you have things come into place. All it does is that means is that the storms that would go in this environment would be going gangbusters. All right, so otherwise we have a nice little shear profile with the winds splitting, that little triangle look to the atmosphere here across this entire area of the state, which means the storms will rotate quite substantially. And so they were in this very game, going to be for hail, wind, and a couple of tornadoes, like we said, mainly out in this little spot here, probably the state. Let's take a look here at the estimated output of the radar. So by 5 o'clock, and we'll look at a couple of them here because I want to show you how each one's going to do something a little bit different. But by 5, we should have a nice layer of supercell storms going up here in the Panhandle area, both Texas and Oklahoma. And then down here in southwest Oklahoma, where temperatures get quite a bit hotter, remember those mid-90s? That should help to fire off some thunderstorms. And the models hinted at this last night. So we're kind of going to have 2 areas to focus on. All right. Now, these little guys here, these are called helicity tracks. It means that the storms are rotating. In that case, it can do one of 2 things. It can mean for damaging winds and hail, or it can mean a tornado. Like we talked about, best odds out in this area for a tornado in this area would be more for damaging winds and some large hail. So let's take a look here. By 7 o'clock, approaching out here in west central Oklahoma, just west of Enid, all the way down to the south. And then there's that split where we have new development down here around, say, Chickasha and on down toward the I-35 corridor between there and Lawton through 7 and, of course, through 8 o'clock, already moving through the greater Oklahoma City metro area. So according to the high-res model that we have, we're going to have a really good line of showers and thunderstorms, producing magnitudes of severe weather as they do. And then by midnight, a lot of that stuff has moved off to the east, maybe some redevelopment down across southeast Oklahoma briefly, but otherwise things winding down overnight for the body of the state. So that is the latest data that has come in, just as we talk about here at noon. And I can show you some of the other models. They're very similar. This guy right here has the same idea, but each one is going to have a little slightly different physics with it. So they're going to have a little different output. And so what you really want to look at is a take-home on these deals. And the take-home is always the same. Same general area, northwest to southeast, all the way down to Texas, with little helicity tracks in there. So in other words, little potential areas for damaging wind and tornadoes and the large hail through the evening hours. And you can see how the weakening trend continues and it starts to die out here in this particular run as we head into the evening hour. So it also, each one will differ on timing a bit, but that's the general consensus. We can look at another one here, and we'll see what it does. Same idea, blows up in southwest Oklahoma. There's some for North Texas. You guys down in Dallas-Fort Worth will have to keep an eye out for any storms moving through your area. You're under the gun as well for the same kind of stuff. There's the 8 o'clock hour, 9 o'clock. You can see, again, the trend is to weaken with time. Once it gets to I-35, things do start to kind of weaken, which is the good news. Right? You want things to weaken at that point in time. Let's see, I think I showed that one, and then here's one more. We'll see what this one does. Same idea. You see the take home here, kind of your 2 clusters, southwest and northwest, and in between does fill in. The Texas Tech model, which I usually use during severe weather seasons, has the same idea. There's that, look at all those helicity tracks, those little red lines. So I'm telling you, man, there are going to be some big storms out there. That's a lot of Cape to feed off of. So those storms in southwest Oklahoma be nasty when it comes to the hail size and the damaging wind size. Not to take anything away from these ones up here in northwest Oklahoma. I'm just saying they have better ingredients to work with for magnitude of severe criteria. All right, 5 o'clock, 4 o'clock. Let's go to this one. So this is our supposedly new flagship experimental model that things will start to change over to in the weather community. This is the first run of that, so they're going to tweak it over the years. Last year and this year, last year they started, so this year they're tweaking it, and then next year we'll see if they still tweak it or if they release it officially. But regardless, 4 and 5 o'clock, you can see how it does favor this kind of region down here in southwest Oklahoma, and then this up here to the north and west. But it does fill in, so regardless of how it starts, the odds are that this is going to be a broken line all the way down from northwest to southeast. Yes, same thing, lots of helicity tracks, these big bright purples, which means just big old heavy DBZ values in the rain output. By 11 at midnight, again, most of it out of the state. So I could show you a billion more deals, but it's the same message, right? Now, there's the other final message for the wind. Now, this is on the HER. And I'll pick here, like this value right here, 94 miles per hour. What's this one? Up around 80 plus. Down here, what do we got? 87, 89. So as these storms work their way from this part of the state and they start to move, say, between this yellow line and really this yellow line, In this corridor here is where you're going to have your best damaging wind on a more of a widespread note rather than teeny tiny little pockets as these storms get into this environment and start to diminish and start to weaken. That is going to be the difference maker. Let's see, I think, was it this I wanted to show you for Oklahoma City? Yeah, so okay, so we'll just take a look at this model for example. I talked about the difference in the dry air. All right, now this one's going super dry. All right, so there's a lot of dry air here in this level of atmosphere and down here. So what this means is this really helps the damaging wind component of the thunderstorms as they move into this environment. So that's what I'm saying. Just heads up, Oklahoma City, yeah, probably get rocked with the winds up around 80 to 90 miles per hour. Probably have some gusts higher than that in some areas here in central Oklahoma. I can't tell you where exactly, because just like this data shows, there are going to be different pockets wherever these storms collapse. And keep in mind, anywhere is fair game for hail that's around baseball size. It does include Oklahoma City. Yes, somebody out there somewhere is going to get a grapefruit size hail anywhere in the spots we're talking about. There's no rhyme or reason as to a specific location. If I had to guess, I would say more likely in southern and southwestern Oklahoma, North Texas, because that's the greater instability. But that's the meteorological guess in me. So if you want to look for grapefruits, that's where I would go. But otherwise, a trailing size of hail as you travel more north and west. So Oklahoma City, maybe baseballs, and up here northwest Oklahoma, maybe a few baseballs, but maybe smaller, around egg size or something like that. Okay, rainfall amounts anywhere from, depends. You may get a few sprinkles, you may get a couple of tenths, and you may get into these really heavy thunderstorms. If you do, you look at an inch to an inch and a half of rain really quick. Models like to favor some of these areas in around 2 to 3 inches in southern Oklahoma, and we showed you that last night, how they can vary. It just depends if you get underneath one of those big old storms or not. Temperature wise, all right, we're going to be in the mid 80s tomorrow. And then on Saturday, we talked about, be another hot day close to 90, and we'll probably have some thunderstorms in this period for Saturday evening and Saturday night, going through central Oklahoma again, whatever's left from the panhandle out in western Oklahoma. We'll have more on that tomorrow and later on. Then after that, a little cool down for Sunday, so pretty decent weekend overall. You just get a little hump there with the storms. And then otherwise, we got some 90s coming in for daytime highs and overnight lows in the 70s, so pretty much typical for June. All right, so going to wrap up here on this broadcast, but the point is, let me do this here again real quick. If you are coming in, you're late, you missed half the show, click that link I just posted where it says opt-in weather updates on Facebook, that way you don't miss them. Conversely, also check every once in a while, you have to check whatever page you follow for the notifications and make sure that Facebook didn't change them on you. And it still says you want all updates, all live updates, all video updates, all post updates. Because on my page, you're going to want those. I don't post a whole lot, but you're definitely not going to want to miss them when I do, especially on these live ones. All right. So I do plan on going live this evening to cover the storms, because it should be a pretty high magnitude event as far as the wind and hail and a couple of tornadoes. I normally only cover tornadoes, so I'm going to make kind of an exception because I think there'll be some pretty significant, storms out there with the other two ingredients that we're talking about. But anyway, it's late afternoon, so after 4 o'clock's fair game for development through the evening hours, exiting the state, most of it by midnight or close to it. So here in central Oklahoma for I-35 corridor, Oklahoma City, etc., you're looking about 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock is when all this stuff starts to come in and approach from the west. So wrap up whatever you're doing outdoors. If you're going to be caught into it, but do what you can to protect, anything that's going to flow around. Can't do much about trampolines, but they're out there. They're wind sails. Those and the hailstones, it is what it is. There's going to be a lot of people getting some roofs out of this event. Might be some people getting some new cars out of this event. You might get a pickup on a hail sale from the local dealership coming out of this event. So it's one of those deals should be pretty significant. We don't get these kind of events that often. It's a combination of a somewhat spring setup for storms in a more volatile summertime pattern, meaning better instability because we have more heat, we have more humidity, all that kind of stuff. By the way, I want to thank Darlene for sending me some stars at lunchtime today. Also, Terry. Appreciate you ladies. Ina's in the house with some stars, so thank you, appreciate that. Always look out for your content creators on the internet. I know, in the old days we kind of joked about it because it was fun. Now there's a lot of people making, obviously, a livelihood or business on social media and on just internet as itself, because they create all their content there, which takes up time from their day and their schedule. And if you like what they produce, do what you can, to help support them, however that may be. It's not just myself included. So, but I appreciate you guys watching in here for lunchtime. I'm going to turn it back over to you so you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Again, I'll be around here later on this evening once things kind of get going. So make sure you like and share this video. Get my weather app, AT's Weather to Go. It's on Apple and Google Play. You can search for my name, Aaron Tuttle, or you can search for AT's Weather to Go. Keep in mind, there'll be some other apps that pop up at the top. Those are ads. Those are not mine. And they do that because people who search my name, they make money off of that because why not? Everybody makes money off of me but me. So when you do that, don't click those apps. I don't know what they are. I don't know where they're coming from, if they're good or bad. But mine will say AT's weather on it. You can't miss it. It's the only one that says that. It'll predict tornadoes before they occur, giving you more time to seek shelter. Speaking of which, with shelters, the last thing we'll leave you with, it's always the center part of your business, your home, lowest level, away from all outside walls and windows. You want to put as many things between you and the tornado as you can. If it's a closet, if it's a stairwell, it doesn't matter, bathroom, whatever's the centermost part of that structure. And then secondly, if you're in an area that doesn't quite have that, and you're like, oh, I'm like an apartment complex, right? Or I'm at a hotel. Where do I go? Well, obviously talk to the manager, first off, to see where they recommend you going. They should have a plan for the residents. But let's just say they don't have a central location. Let's say they don't have a bathroom. Well, you're going to have to get to know your neighbor. And you're going to want to get down to the lowest floor. Same idea. So it's the same idea. And if the apartment complex is like in a square or a rectangle, whatever, just try to be somewhere in the middle. And obviously you want to do this before the storm hits. Give yourself some extra minutes. My app will do that for you. That way you're not running out in it, getting pummeled by hail or debris if you waited too late, kind of a deal. You just basically have to kind of stay alert when this kind of stuff does roll through. And that pretty much goes from anywhere across the deal. All right, let's see. It is 12:13. Running out of time. Let's see. Brenda, by the way, on YouTube. Thank you very much for the super chat gift. So not only on Facebook but also on YouTube, you can donate, and the same thing with Rumble as well. So I appreciate that. Okay, I'm gonna get out of here. You guys have a great rest of your day, and we will talk again with you soon. Take care.